Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again. Ignite is an international inter-school online innovation and entrepreneurship challenge for school students. You've heard about programs like Shark Tank and Dragon's Den, which have been around on international TV for quite some time. But this one is unique because we are turning to our young friends, you young learners who are in school today, but who would in future dictate the future of our nation. We are inviting you to look around yourself, pick up everyday problems that you see, and come up with innovative and creative solutions to those problems. And to guide you in this wonderful, wonderful journey, we have IIM Calcutta Innovation Park as a knowledge partner. The IIM Calcutta Innovation Park is the incubation cell at IIM Calcutta, or the Indian Institute of Management, one of the premier management schools in the country. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity for all of you young students to get mentored by the very best in terms of what does entrepreneurship entail and the various stages that an entrepreneur goes through. We've already had 2 masterclasses. Today is the third one where we learn how to make the perfect pitch. And to tell us more about it, we have with us Mr. Gaurav Kapoor. A serial entrepreneur for over 25 years, Gaurav Kapoor currently heads new initiatives and external relations at IIM Calcutta Innovation Park, the business incubator at IIM Calcutta. Having worked across multiple domains, both business and social, Gaurav has a deep focus on social entrepreneurship and brings to the table a wide knowledge base from experiential learning to deep-rooted skills in business planning and development. A social entrepreneur and change maker, Gaurav walks the talk proactively, impacting social and behavioral change in society through a number of not-for-profits that he founded and through the extensive motivational work he does as a speaker and evangelist. Gaurav is purpose-led and inspires youth to take on leadership roles and work towards meaningful and sustainable impact. Gaurav is a die-hard optimist and an energy magnet. Gaurav, absolutely privileged to have you here today. Thank you so much for making the time. You have quite a bit of young audience that's going to hang on to every word you say. So without much ado, over to you. Gaurav, you'll have to unmute yourself, I think.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Gaurav, we can hear you, but there seems to be a bit of a disturbance on the line. I hope your connectivity is fine.
I think I'll need to I think I'll need to re-log in. There is some issue with this connection. Just
sure.
Give me half a minute. I'll just re-log in. I think.
Yeah. While Gaurav is coming back in, let me tell you a little bit about Notebook Ignite. This was announced to schools a few weeks back. What we are asking school students to do, and they can be from any class, any school, anywhere across the planet. What we are asking you to do is look around yourself. Pick up a problem that bugs you, something that you want to solve, and become an entrepreneur. Imagine that you are now in a place where you can have your own startup, and that startup solves that problem. We would like to hear your plans. We would like to see how well you assess the situation. We would like to know what your plans for growing that solution into one magnificent business is. In the first masterclass, which was the day before yesterday, we heard about the journey of an entrepreneur from Gaurav and 2 other wonderful entrepreneurs. Yesterday, in the second masterclass, we learned what are the elements that go into making a good business plan. Well, making a business plan is obviously a much larger, exhaustive list of activities that you need to consider. Today, in the third and final one, we are going to look at making the perfect pitch. Yes, as a business, as a venture, as an entrepreneur, a lot of your success depends on ensuring that others, your customers, your investors, your team members, believe in the vision that you have for your solution. And all of that is about making the perfect pitch. Gaurav, welcome back. Is your connectivity better now?
You'll have to tell me that. I think it's okay.
I think it's much better.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
So, okay.
Over to you.
Thank you so much, Shubhayu. I must acknowledge that Notebook is doing some amazing work And we are very happy to be associated with this program. And I think the hard work that Notebook has put in, just to see that entrepreneurship takes a leading role in the lives of youth is really amazing. It is such a pleasure to be here with so many schools participating in this one program. So thank you so much, Notebook. This is such a pleasure. A very, very good afternoon to all of you. And we're going to talk about, so you've attended two master classes, and in the first one, we took you through what really is the journey of an entrepreneur. That is the first one. And the second one, then we came up with, what makes a good business plan. Okay. And now today we're going to talk about making a winning pitch. I think this is one part, which is the most important part. So can you see my screen? Is my screen visible?
Yes, Gaurav, we can see your screen.
Okay. So yesterday, somebody had a very, very pertinent question, as in we discussed so much in detail. All that, is that all going to be, included in a 7-minute pitch? Well, I think one of the major things that Notebook is doing is not only to ensure that we are having a challenge or a competition here around entrepreneurship, but bigger than that is the knowledge that is being imparted. What we're looking at is the way we're trying to orient you all with what entrepreneurship is all about, as as a much bigger picture than just for the sake of a competition. And that is why I say that Notebook has done such an amazing job in taking entrepreneurship to schools. So I really welcome this gesture. And let's begin and see what a winning pitch is all about. So whatever you all learned yesterday was to give you an understanding of business, was to give you an understanding of how to make a business plan when you're starting up. Now, that was a 360-degree view. So it's like when you're driving, you're sitting in a car, you're able to see the entire world outside, and you're able to see the trees on the side, you can see the road, you can see the mountains on the left, and you can see maybe 3 kilometers down the line that, there's a small speck there which seems to be a truck coming in from the front. But when you start the ignition and you drive, you come back, your focus comes straight onto the road, what is around you, which is maybe just 10 feet away from you. And that is where the focus comes in. So this is exactly what we're doing. We're bringing you now to that one path, that road, where your focus will be about 10 to 12 feet in front of you, what's happening in front of you. So when we're talking about a winning pitch, now we're going to be very ruthless here with ourselves first. And what I mean by that is that we will actually plan and design a pitch and even the delivery of the pitch in such a way that we move towards winning. So we play to win here. We don't play to play. We play to win. And that is exactly what this session today is all going to be all about. So what really makes a winning pitch? When we talk about a pitch, what is really a pitch first? A pitch is basically when you are, in front of a jury or in front of an investor. It could be for various reasons, but this is here, we're talking about now a competition here. So in front of the jury, you are going to talk about your business in a very short span of time. And in that short span of time, you need to give a 360-degree view of your business to the jury members. And you need to convince them. The objective of this one pitch is to convince the jury members that yours is the winning business. Yours is the business that they should bet upon. And to do that, let us now, let's see what really, how do we really plan a pitch? What goes inside a pitch? So we're talking about a 7-minute pitch. A 7-minute pitch meaning you will get 7 minutes to actually present your business. Okay, and that's from starting till end. And you need to cover a lot of things in those 7 minutes. So I would request you all to strap yourselves onto your seats and get into the driving mode. Be attentive because I'm going to cover a lot of things here today. But I will also want you to absorb a lot of things here, which will help you to actually get to making the perfect pitch. So a winning pitch has 3 basic elements. The first is a riveting story. You need to tell your story. And that's a very, very important aspect or part of the pitch, because emotions are what really play. So the first part is the storytelling bit. The second is you need to have a very robust and a strong business model that you project in front of the team. The third part is there has to be some outstanding impact that needs to be created. Okay, so now you don't have a business ready right now. You guys are planning towards a business. So you need to show what kind of an impact will my business hold for its beneficiaries. Okay, so this is one thing which is very important for you to understand and keep this in mind. 3 very important aspects. I'll repeat them once again. One is a riveting story and the way you tell that story. That is very important. The second part is the business model. It has to be a very strong business model. It has to make a very strong case. And thirdly, it has to have outstanding impact. Okay, these are 3 things that your pitch should actually, hook your jury members to. So how do you really prepare for a pitch? This is very important also, because if you don't prepare for it, this is just like an exam. How you prepare for your exams, this is in a similar way. You need to prepare for your pitch, and there are ways and means of doing it. So let's see what do they really mean. Okay, so the first part is make a rockstar business model, and that's very important. Your business model has to be correct. So we'll first go through how you will make a business model, or rather present a business model. The second part is preparing a breathtaking presentation. And that's very important because after all, seeing is believing. What they see on screen is what exactly they want to understand. So that presentation has to be really, really well done. It has to be a crisp presentation. And of course, you need to tell a very, very convincing story. So when you are delivering that pitch, you need to be in total control of your story, and the story has to come out. The story has to come out as a very convincing story for the jury members to believe that this is the business model that we're going to bank upon. Okay, so let's go forward and see what are the right ingredients for now we're talking about the pitch. So when you're making a presentation, what will be the right ingredients for that one presentation that you're going to prepare? Okay, so this is not what you're going to present. What I'm showing you right now is not what you're going to present. This is what, just for your understanding. So your pitch needs to have an introduction. And that's the opening statement, basically. And that's the opening slide that you come up with. And this is going to be a very, very important part here, because this is where you will, make the first impression. So remember that this is, the opening scene of a movie. Second is the problem and market need. There's a second slide that you must put up, as in discuss about the problem. Present the problem very well. What is the problem that you're trying to solve? Or what market need are you trying to fulfill? The third part will be your product or service. What is it that you are trying to offer as a solution, or your value proposition, what we heard yesterday? What is your value proposition for the customer? The next is, who is your customer? So you need to identify and define your customer. That is very important. And the next slide will be the marketing strategy. So what is your marketing strategy? How will you reach the market, and how will you actually do your business? Okay. Who is your competition, or who are the substitutes, or what are the substitutes? This is the next slide, which is a very important slide, which tells the jury members as to how do you stand vis-a-vis the rest of the people in the market. The next is the revenue model, as in how are you going to make money? That's very important for them to know. If it's a business, you need to make money. How are you going to make that money? And lastly, but not the least, it is the team. You need to talk about your team. Who is going to be a part of your team? How are you going to structure the team? You don't have anything ready, so this is all going to be for the future. Okay, and lastly is, the last part is the impact part. What is the impact that your business is going to create for its beneficiaries? Okay, so this is, I would say, the structure of your presentation. Okay, so we've got 3 + 3, 6, and 3, 9 slides here. So these 9 slides in 7 minutes is what you're going to present. And I'll take you through each slide in detail now and tell you what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Okay, so just remember 9 slides is all that you should take. You can increase if you want 1 or 2 slides. It's upon you, but I would suggest rather not, because you might, lose out on your time and may not be able to keep the time. I've also how much of time you should spend on each of the slides. I'll even share that with you so that you will get a perfect idea as to how you need to present. Okay, so let's go on from here. Let's begin from here. And let's go on to the introductory slide, your first slide, which is your introduction about yourself. Who are you? You need to, give your name first. It's a greeting. So hello, jury members, or hello, everyone. I am so-and-so. Or good afternoon, good evening, whatever the time may be. I'm so-and-so. So give your full name and you give your little introduction. I'm a student of class 7 or class 10 from the school in the city. That's it. And that should be very, very crisp, okay? Because that's to establish who you are and where you come from. The next, so that's the name, the location, and your role in the business. You can even include that, and I'm the co-founder of the business, or I'm the founder of the business. This is what you can state, okay? If you think that you want to define yourself with a position like I'm the CTO, the Chief Technology Officer in my company, you can do that, okay? Then what is your business or idea all about? So you need to have, in very short, and this is a very, very important part, because here you're not talking about the entire business. Here in one line, you're going to explain your business. Like, I'm into the business of providing logistics to COVID patients. In one line, I told you exactly what I do, okay? Or I'm into the business of, reaching food to people who order from home. Simple. In one line, state what is your business or your idea about. Okay, and you need to have one hard-hitting liner. One liner that is going to define everything. It's going to define you. It's going to define your business. It's going to be one thing that they will remember you with. So this is probably the only place where you probably play around with words, and you get one liner. Like, for example, if I tell you lime and lemony, and the next word you are going to say is limca, right? So you know what I'm talking about. So one liner which will define you. So you need to come up with that one liner which is going to define your business. So it could be the vision or the objective of your company, this one liner. It could be the impact that you're going to create. It could be also something that generates interest and holds on to your jury members. So just remember, you could also say that, we are we are a food delivery company, and our vision is to ensure that no one goes hungry every night. So it's a hard-hitting vision. So it's an objective that you've been able to express about your company. So keep one thing in mind, that it needs to be crisp, it needs to be short, and that one-liner should be able to define what your business does or the impact of your business. Okay. And you need to leave your audience with something which will, make them eager to, hear you more. They would want to hear a little more about what you do. So this give away everything. The idea is to hold on to their, interest and make sure that they are attentive for the rest of the slides that are going to come along. Okay. So I hope you've got this part, right? This is the first slide. Let's go to the next slide. So if you notice on the top right-hand corner of the screen, you have a 1. That 1 means this is a slide that you're going to put up, as in this is the data that you need to put up in a slide. Before I go on, let me also tell you, it is not necessary that you have to follow this order, but it'll be good if you can. You could maybe use your own imagination here. You could use all kinds of graphics and photographs. It's upon you. I'll come to that part a little later, the aesthetics part. But let's look at the content first. Okay. So this is the first slide. Going on to the second slide. Just 1 second. Just 1 second, please. Yeah. So what need are you addressing? What is the problem that you're solving? That's the next slide. Okay. And just remember that this is very important. If you don't define the problem well, one will not understand whether there's a need for this business or not. So ensure that you are actually defining the problem very well. Oftentimes we spend a lot of time also defining the problem. So remember, it needs to be crisp. You need to be very precise, and you need to have the problem very well stated. So if suppose hunger is what you are addressing, then you must say that there are 50 or whatever the number is, that there are 50 million kids in this world who go to sleep hungry each night. And that is the problem that I'm trying to address here right now. So that is one way of doing it. If it's pollution, you could say that, there is X tons of pollution that is being created in our country every day, and which means that X number of people die because of pollution and Y number of people fall sick. And it's a total toll of, say, Z $1 million or million rupees each year, which is spent behind pollution. Now, this is in very precise 3 sentences. I have actually stated the problem. I don't need to harp about it. I just need to ensure that my sentences are crisp. The framework is very, very precise, but I'm actually addressing the problem in a very, very clear and defined manner. So you need to basically tell the judges that you have a very clear understanding of the problem. Okay. Also, does the problem really exist? I don't know whether it really exists or not, right? So if you're trying to solve a problem in Mars, it won't probably, cut fine with me. But if you really are trying to solve a problem, then I should be able to understand very clearly, yes, there's this huge problem in front. Okay. Of course, you can't solve the entire problem, but you are one of the drops in that ocean who are actually going to solve that problem. Okay. You have a story to introduce the problem. That is another way of doing it. Okay. Provided you can do it very briefly. For example, you could talk about, so I would like you to meet Arun. Arun is 7 years old and lives on the footpath of Park Street in Kolkata. He takes in X amount of pollution every day. That's a story. You could come up with a photograph, you could talk about a problem, or if it's a medical problem about somebody, you could start, okay, so the so-and-so lost his kidney or, had a heart attack at such an early age or whatever. So that story, and that story needs to be, real in the sense I should be able to believe that. So this is this is one of the aspects you could use as an introduction. And not necessary that you should, a lot of people do, but it's a good idea. You could actually look at it. Then how big is the problem? So you need to have some numbers to spell out the quantum of the problem or the magnanimity of the problem. So these are, this was one slide that is very important. Now you come on to the next slide, which is the product. So I'll just wait for you to just have a look at this. So very clear understanding of the problem or need. Does the problem really exist? If you have a story, you can talk about a story there. How big is the problem? So don't spend too much of time just harping about the problem, because you will then spend lesser amount, get lesser amount of time to talk about the solution. So, but you really need to define it well. How are you solving the problem, which is the solution, which is the next slide. So describe your solution or your product or service. So you could say that, you know, suppose you have recently made a ventilator. So we've created a ventilator, which is world-class, can deliver X, Y, Z, and is cost-effective and can be sold, or is a good product for X, Y, Z market. So you've actually described the solution in very short and brief. Okay, so we don't need to have too many sentences around. So if you just understand that we've just got, and I'm saying this again and again, we've just got 7 minutes to talk about 9 slides. So you will hardly get anything between 30 to 45 seconds per slide. Just remember that. I'll come to the breakup, which is a suggested breakup, but say about 30 to 45 seconds for a particular slide. So in 30 seconds, how much can you talk? You will need to weigh your sentences, and the data that you're giving out should be encapsulated in these few sentences. But ensure that if you have the right sentences there, I assure you, the pitch becomes extremely informative and gripping, because the story comes out very well. So describe the solution, describe the key features. You can talk about, you know, that it is energy saving. It is, suppose I'm talking about a ventilator, so it's energy saving. It can work on, say, 12 volts or less. It is something which can run for, say, 24/7 for 300 days in a year at a stretch. It can pump up to X amount of power, you know, things like that. So those are features of the product. How does it address the problem or the need? So this is a product which is, I'm talking about now my ventilator. So I could say that, you know, this is a product which is, because of its pricing and the high quality performance that it provides, which is international or world class, it is a perfectly suited product for government hospitals, which cannot afford very expensive machinery. At 50,000 rupees, this product can actually you know, compete with something which is available for, say, 2.5 lakhs. And this could really solve the problem in India of ventilators, even in rural areas. So this is how it addresses the problem or the need. So in very short, in 3 sentences, I've been able to convey this entire story. What are the key benefits to the users? As in, what are the benefits that the product or the service or your solution offers to the users? So this can give a sustained level of oxygen to patients who require high rates of oxygen, high levels of oxygen, who are really compromised. Or if it's not for those kind of people, if it is for, say, a medium rate of oxygen usage, then you say that it's for a medium rate usage. Accordingly, you describe the benefits. So there are 2 ways of doing it. One is a feature and one is a benefit. You could club together both of them and say, okay, in one line, you can say the same. I mean, for example, if you're talking about a feature, so it's a low maintenance product. I can immediately that is going to be done for, say, 300 days non-stop for you know, catering to patients who need high levels of oxygen. So I've combined a feature and a benefit for the user together. Even that can happen if I want to save time, or also if I want to draw that association between a feature and the benefit. Describe your product or service. So it weighs, say, 650 grams. It is only 9 inches by 8 inches in size, 9 inches and 8 inches by 11 inches in size. And now if you can't describe it, I can talk about the color, I can talk about a digital display. That's how I describe my product, right? But suppose I can't describe it, then what do I do? For example, I have a service which I can't describe. So it'll be better if I show a picture, of that product or service, which will better explain it. And it also saves time. You could do that as well. If there are different types of variants are there, for example, we've got 3 different variants to the same ventilator, one catering to low levels of oxygen, second for the medium level of oxygen, third for high rate flow of oxygen. So this is what I can explain. I've got 3 variants, okay? And the prices range from so-and-so to so-and-so. I can even say that. If suppose my product isn't ready right now, I can say that, I'll take 6 months to launch my product or 2 years to launch my product. And there are the 3 phases. I am right now in the development phase. This phase gives over in October. The next phase, which is the go-to-market phase, which will begin in November. And by next August, we will be scale-up phase. So you could give phases there. You could also talk about technology being made right now if you want to. It depends upon how you want to look at it. If you want to skip it, you can even skip the launch phases right now, because it may, if you feel that's not very important, it's fine. You can say, okay, we're launching the product in X time, say 6 months time. That is also okay. The market validation of the solution, for example, you were saying that you've done this, you're making this product. So has the market really validated it? Has the market told you, yes, we are waiting for this product, or it is acceptable, the quality is good, we accept the price? How do you do that? Well, have you spoken to 10 people, 200 people, 50 people, 2,000 people? What? So we've spoken to 2,000 people, and or we've spoken to 50 people over the last 3 months, and we've received some excellent responses on the product, and there is product acceptance. So that should be in one line good enough if you have to explain that. Some feedback numbers on the feedbacks wherever applicable will be very, very welcome. You could say that we spoke to 50 people, 35 of those people or 38 of those people have shown a straightaway interest in the product, and they are willing to book the orders. So something like that would also help. Okay. Now, who is your customer? Now you need to also define, that's the next slide, is who is your customer? So you need to define your customer, and you define your customer in various ways. Like I said yesterday, you could define the customer in terms of geography, in terms of gender, in terms of location, in terms of socioeconomic group, and however clearly on you, how you are going to define your customer. Explain whether your customer is an individual or a business. Even that's another way of describing a customer. Like my customers are going to be individuals, or my customers are going to be businesses. So this is a B2B or a business to business business that I'm starting off. Describe your typical customer. So it'll be good if you can describe the customer. This customer is from an urban town or from metro cities and tier 1 and tier 2 cities, who's earning anything between 50,000 to $1.5 lakh a month. Is a credit card user, typically goes to clubs, whatever. So you could define your customer, or has a monthly expense of 75,000 rupees. Is the kind of customer we are looking at.
Gaurav, hi, sorry. So sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I think the audio problem is, persisting at times.
Okay.
So there are a little bit of a drop-offs in your audio when you are speaking.
Yeah.
Could you try switching off the video for now? Because I think you've
yes, I think that would be wonderful. Oh yes, yeah. yes, it would definitely. Sorry, my bad. I didn't realize I should have done this before. Is it better now?
Think so. Let's see if this works.
Okay. Yeah. You want me to repeat anything here that you couldn't hear? Any part?
No, I think I think for me it was clearer.
Okay.
I hope others could also hear it. Please carry on.
Okay. So okay. The next thing is also describe where your customer is is the location of the customer, like I said, tier 1 city, urban city, are we talking about rural customers? Who? So that gives us a perspective, or the jury a perspective of who are you trying to sell to? And that it becomes a complete picture. The idea is to give a very complete picture as to who your customer is. Okay. And very importantly, I think you should also be able to explain, or I would say justify, why will your customers buy your product or service? Since there are so many different competitors, there are so many different options that they have, why will they actually want to buy from you? And if you can justify that, and if that justification is plausible, I mean, you've actually cut a lot of ground with the jury. See, look at it in a very, very logical way. You're starting off a business. You have a solution. You're offering a product or a service. If there is a demand or a need for that product or service, your business will do well, provided your product or service meets those needs and demands. If it is able to cover up whatever need the market has, then there is a clear case of business being done. So if you can explain very clearly that there is a case here as to why your customers will buy your product or service, you have actually cut the ground with it makes sense to put money behind your business. And a very important question to answer is, do they really need your solution? I mean, do we only feel that our product or service will sell, or does the customer also feel that there is a need for your solution? Okay, so this is something that you need to spell out. If you can spell out these two things, I mean, half of your job is done, because if there is a need and you've got the perfect match for that need, and if people will buy and you have a reason why they will buy, then you're made. Your day is made. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. So how will you do that? I mean, the need, I mean, of course, you could say that you've done a market survey, you've spoken to 10 people or 20 people or 500 people. And that has, I mean, we've got data from them which tells us, yes, they really need our solution. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide now. So how will you acquire your customers? So that's very important as well, right? How do you reach out to your customer? So the first step is to reach out to your customer. I need to talk to my customer. I need to engage with my customer. I need to tell them a story about what I can offer to them. What is my value proposition to my customer? I need to communicate that value proposition to my customer so that my customer gets enticed to buy my product or service. Okay, so the first step is, how will I reach out to my customer? I mean, there are ways and means of doing it. Am I going to use word of mouth publicity? Is it going to be through advertisements, leaflets, business cards? Is it going to be social media, trade shows, website, television marketing? What? Is it going to be FM marketing? What is it that I'm really deploying as a strategy to reach out to my customer? I need to ensure that I spell that out very clearly. So the first step is to reach out to your customer, and the second step is to acquire the customer. How will I acquire the customer? So why will anybody buy my product? So there could be many reasons. One is they find value, that is fine. But I could do other things. Okay. For example, I could give a discount. I could tie up with another brand and piggy ride on another brand's popularity. There'll be 10 things that I can do. So what is my strategy to acquire my customer? There might be a cost also attached to acquiring the customer. For example, it could be marketing cost, it could be a discounting, it could be a free product. Day before yesterday, we met somebody who was doing sampling, if you recall. I could do sampling as well. Okay, and that's another way of enticing the customer. You say, okay, I'll give you a sample here for free, and I'll also, once you try out the product, I'll give you 20% off on the next buy. Or there could be that you take two, one will be free, one I'll give you free and one you buy. That could be another. So one-on-one, that's another option. So how do we really get the customer to buying the product? Okay, that's important. How will you service your customers? As in, how will I reach out to them? How will I be able to offer them service? How will I be able to offer my value that I'm offering to them? How will I get that to them? For example, will it be through a retailer? Will it be through an e-commerce site? How? So that servicing part could also be the post-sale service, after-sale service. Suppose I've already sold my product. For example, I'm making a washing machine and I sold my product. How do I service that? They may have an issue with the working of the machine, or they may have some troubleshooting or some problem with the machine. How do I service that? So all that you need to explain. The next slide is so I just leave this for a few seconds for you to have a look. Okay, next. The next slide is, who is your competition? Well, I can understand you've got a good product. I can understand that you've got a good service. I understand that you're offering value, but there are others in the market too. Why will I not buy from them? And why will I stop buying from them and buy from you? I already have 10 other people who are selling me the same thing, and I'm already happy buying from them. So what is it that is your differentiator? What is it that is different in your product or service, or in your offering, or in the value proposition that you're offering to your customer, which is different from your competition? So who are your competitors? Okay. And how do you compare your product with their product? So this is very important. So I could say that, I'm into the into manufacturing washing machines. Whirlpool is my competitor. Godrej is my competitor. Panasonic, LG, Samsung, these are all my competitors. Now, how does my product compare? Well, I'm offering a top load washing machine, which has got a built-in heater for 16,000 rupees, which my competition is giving for 23,000 rupees today. My washing machine is a space saver. However, I give the same quality, or rather better quality, and this may be a larger size in terms of the capacity. And I'm saving that with my innovative drum that I have made for my washing machine. Okay, so that's another way of looking at it. So this is how I compare with my competitors. I've got these three features. I'm giving in 16,000 rupees, I'm giving a built-in heater, I'm giving a Spiro wash, I'm giving a totally automated system. You can also turn into a manual system. I've got 24 options for instant wash, while my competitors are only doing 12. I'm doing 24. I have got a 1000 RPM motor in it, which means it runs at a much faster speed, while my competitors are doing 740 RPM. My machine consumes 300 watts of power, while the rest are consuming anything between 360 to 480 watts of power. So these are things how I can compare. And I could do them very quickly. There are 3 things or 4 things. I can just simply talk about those 4 things. This is how I compare, bullet point wise. Find out information about your competitors. This is very important for you to know who are the competitors for you in the market. And you should have some data on them as well. It's good to know how many they sell, how much they sell for, how many pieces they sell in a year, what are the key features of their products. Okay, and that's how you come up with how do you compare your product. And you should have at least 3 competitors. Have a minimum of 3 competitors that you can show on the screen so that a person knows you've done your homework. You're not talking about 1 or 2, you're talking about 3 minimum. And these are top 3 competitors in the market. Okay, who are they? Where are they? What do they sell? How much does it cost? What are their main strengths and what are their weaknesses? So when they're talking about their washing machines, what are the strengths of their washing machines? And how do I compare with those strengths? Okay, so their features vis-a-vis my features. What are the flaws or weaknesses in their washing machine where I can score over I need to show that comparison, right? Now, when you talk about competition, there is also something called a substitute, which is not directly a competition, but can substitute. For example, today, if you're talking about a washing machine, the maid is a substitute. The maid who comes home to wash, my clothes is a substitute to a washing machine. So how do you know? You can say that a maid is a substitute, and at the same time, well, what we really spend on the salary of a maid, which is roughly about 500 rupees a month, I can cover that cost in, say, 12 months, or say not 12 months, maybe 24 months, or whatever period of time. Okay, in 36 months, this machine becomes free. If I compare it with the salaries that we pay to maids these days, and that is a very clear-cut use case, that the life of my machine is 12 years or 15 years, and in 3 years' time, I'm able to cover the cost of the machine, which makes it a very, very good value proposition for the customer. What is your unique selling point, or a USP? How are you better than your competitors? And that is something which really needs to be highlighted. I am making a washing machine here, which is at 6,000 rupees, and my price is my USP. The energy saving in terms of electricity is my USP. If you use my machine for 3 years, you will be able to save let's say, 25% of the machine cost, surely by using my machine vis-a-vis my competitors, because my machine gives you a 20% saving in energy. Now, that is a good value proposition, right? So that's your unique selling point. Highlight your unique selling point. So USPs are what will actually stand out vis-a-vis your competitors. And of course, very importantly, why should customers buy from you? Because these are the savings that in 3 years' time, the machine becomes free if you compare to these factors. And that becomes a very, very strong point for people to buy this machine. Over and above that, I am going to give an EMI facility, which I'm not going to charge interest for. And this will be for 12 EMIs. You can pay your machine cost in 12 EMIs, which is easy payment of 1,200 something rupees a month. Oh, that's another way of looking at things, right? So how do you really design your pitch? All depends upon what is your product, one, or service. And second is how are you perceiving this as a product or as a value proposition for your customer. The next slide. So I'll just leave the slide for a quick look. Okay. The next slide. Now we talk about how we're going to make the money, the revenue model. And this is very important because for any business to sustain, you need to make money. One cannot say that, I'm going to do business, but I'm not going to make money. That's not a business then. So when we're talking about how we're going to make money, you need to explain to the jury as to where is the money, as in what is the process of making that money. For example, I'm going to make money by selling washing machines, or I'm going to make money by renting out washing machines on a monthly basis. That could also be a selling point for me, right? And that is the way I make money. So it could be on rentals. I could make money by also saying that, I will put up these, I will get this franchisee network done where I will actually give out machines to franchisees who will actually wash clothes for people, and in every locality. And I'm going to earn, say, X amount of commission on each clothing that is being washed. Now, that is a very far-fetched business idea, but I'm just giving an example. So it could be by way of sales, it could be by way of subscriptions, depending upon what your business model is and what is your product. So it could be a subscription, it could be a rental, it could be a fee that is being charged on a particular service. So depending upon that, you will be able to explain as to how you will make the money. So it could be sources of income or revenue streams. Which are the different revenue streams? So in the same business, I could have a rental income. I could also have an income as in a revenue from sales. So it could be both, or it could be multiple revenue streams as well. Who's going to pay for it? And this is one question I ask you: who pays? So this is where, when you are actually identifying your customer. So I'll just give this example to you, and this has come up, multiple number of times when we talk about business models or business plans, and we ask people, who is your customer? So somebody who's in the education space will say that my customer is our students. And that would be incorrect to say, because students don't pay. It is the parents of the students who pay. So the customer becomes the person who pays the money. Okay. So you need to be very clear as to who pays. So you need to very clearly state that my customer is, my customers are, parents of students, or parents who are going to pay for the service. So this is how you actually define. And very important, and then again, very important is the part where you talk about the pricing, that, I'm going to make, the product cost is 16,000 rupees for my washing machine, and I, make say 30% margins on my product, and I'm going to sell, say 100 machines every month. And I'm going to sell these to households of an income bracket of, say, 80,000 rupees to 1,50,000 rupees a month. I've defined that very well now. Okay. What is the addressable market size? Now, what does an addressable market size mean? It means, see, one can say that the world is my market, but that is not really true, because in that world, not everybody can afford a washing machine. In that world, I'm not exporting, so anything beyond India is out for the moment. So what is the addressable market size? The addressable market is the market that I can reach, okay, which can buy. Okay. So if a slum is not my market, I will have to minus that from my addressable market. It is not a part of the addressable market. So the addressable market is somebody who is a potential customer. Okay. So what is the addressable market size? Okay, roughly. Of course, these figures can never be exact. They are based on some research or data which is collected by certain organizations which do this part. Okay. Is the customer willing to pay? I mean, yes, my product is there, my service is there, but will my customer actually pay for it? Or will my customer not pay for it, but still use it? So that's also very important to distinguish between using and buying. I can probably listen to Spotify on my phone, the free section, the freemium model, because since it's a freemium model, so I can actually listen to Spotify, but I'm a user, but I'm not a customer. And this is one important distinction that you need to make between a customer and a user. Okay. So also, who is paying will decide who's a customer. For example, for notebook, let me take notebooks example. For notebook, the parents are customers, but the students are users. So there's a big distinction here, right? I'm just taking this example for you to understand very clearly. Okay. When you talk about is the customer willing to pay, then is there any precedence in the market of a similar product or service already? And that will give us an idea whether the customer is willing to pay or not. For example, I'm making washing machines, and there are already 7 brands of washing machines being sold, or maybe 10 brands of washing machines being sold in the market today. And almost 10 lakh machines get sold every year annually in India, which means there are customers there outside waiting to buy a machine. They're willing to pay for it. Okay. So, sorry, you could just have a look at this for a moment, just absorb the slide. This is on the revenue model. Shubhayu, just check here. Are you able to hear me clearly now?
Yeah, Gaurav, much better.
Okay, wonderful. Going on to the next slide, and this is a very, very important slide, which I spoke about yesterday as well, and that is the team slide. So this is where you're going to talk about. So none of you will have a business, I hope. I'll be really happy if somebody has a business model here already. But as I assume that that nobody has a business model already or a business running right now. So you could actually, this is the dream team that you've got that you're going to plan. So you can plan your dream team and say, okay, this is what I'm going to plan. How will you plan your team? So what are the basic aspects of a team basically? So a team has a lot of people in it, right? And each one of them has a role to play. So I have a team of 4, or I plan a team of 4 people in the core group. This is the core team, which are basically co-founders, or 3 members in the core team, which are co-founders, and they're going to be looking after X, Y, and Z roles in the company. And with these XYZ, I'm talking about finance, marketing, and technology. These are 3 roles that are going to be looked after by the core team. For marketing and for HR, I'm going to have 2 employees. Now, that is how you're defining your team now. So it could be a distinction between the core team and the secondary team, and then also in terms of the functions. Okay. What skill set and experience will you look for? So if I'm going to have somebody who is coming into the core team as a co-founder and is going to look after technology, then this is the minimum degree that the person will have. I will only take a co-founder who has a master's in IT. Suppose I'm just giving an example. Yeah. So that becomes a benchmark for me. And the person will have at least 5 years of experience working in a multinational, working on XYZ, a particular type of work that they've done before. So that becomes my qualification for taking in a person as a co-founder in the role of a technology guy. Okay, so this is how you define each one of them. Okay, and the reason why you do that is because then this gives the jury an idea as to how balanced your team will be and how competent your team will be. What is it that you're looking for within the team? That means what will be the expectancy?
My apologies to everyone who's attending. I think Mr. Kapoor just lost connectivity. We'll just give him a couple of minutes to join back. But I think so far it's been absolutely, absolutely wonderful. If you are participating in Notebook Ignite already, I think these slides give you great insights on how you should prepare your presentation for the competition. In case you are listening in and your school has not already registered as participants for Notebook Ignite, particularly if you have the teachers, the coordinators, or the principals over here, my sincere request, because of exams going on, we had to extend our last date by another few days. So the link is still open. If you can respond to the email with the link to this webinar, we would be happy to accommodate you. We have spoken to our friends at IIM Calcutta Innovation Park, and we have now decided as many schools as would want to attend or would want to compete in this event, we would be more than happy to accommodate all of you. So in case you want to take a shot at creating a business plan, present that plan in front of experts, this is your big chance. Also, there have been quite a few questions, and I'm sure when Mr. Kapoor is back, he'll address most of them. A couple of them are regarding the rules for the event, so let me just quickly address those. One is that there's a question on how many people can present. It's actually quite simple. You have 5 members in your team, and it's entirely up to you to decide how many of you will present or how would you split the time between them. But do remember, it's all going to happen online, and the time limit of 7 minutes will not be relaxed. So if you can manage your time well, you are more than happy. We are more than happy to have all 5 students present, but that is a strategy that we'll leave entirely up to you. Just give me 1 second. So that was just Gaurav Kapoor on the phone. He's just joining in a couple of minutes. That is one, about how many people can present. In terms of total time, remember you have 7 minutes in the first round to present. And after that, you'll have to face 6 minutes of questions from the judges. So just as Gaurav was telling you right now, he was going through the various parts and how you should present them. Also, if you feel that something could be gone into in more detail, present that in a way that might inspire questions from the judges, because there would be 6 minutes of question and answer, and it works to your advantage if those 6 minutes are filled with questions that you can possibly anticipate. I can see that Mr. Kapoor has joined back. Gaurav, welcome back. Would you want to share your screen once more? Perfect.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, and your screen is yet to come up.
Can you see it now?
Yes, we can see it now. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm so sorry I got booted out, and I think Zoom has some issues with me, but we'll still carry on. So, so where were we? Yes. Yeah. So what are the skill sets that you're looking for in this dream team? So you need to establish that very clearly. And once you establish that, that will give the jury an understanding of what is your focus also in trying to run your business and also make sure that it's a success. Because any business is dependent upon the team. The success of a business is dependent on a team. It is a team which actually makes the business run. Okay. So the more qualified, I would say, the more competent a team, the better the business is expected to be. And also what is their experience that they bring along with them. So this is something that you would need to establish very, very clearly. Okay. So I'll go on to the next slide. And this is the last slide, which is where we talk about the impact. We're talking about, whatever business I'm going to do or you're going to do rather, what is the impact of your business on the masses, on the rest of the world outside? I mean, how many number of lives are you going to impact? Are you going to create jobs? What is the benefit to the society? If you're talking about working in, say, it also depends upon your stream of work or whatever business that you are selecting to do, that will decide as to what is the impact that you're going to create in the outside world. And let me tell you, this is now catching precedence, and I think a lot of investors are looking at, business solutions which are actually creating positive impact in the world. And that is because there is a certain amount of corporate social responsibility, as they call it, which has been attached to businesses now, as to if you're working in this environment, what is the impact that are you creating in this environment? Are you harming the environment, or are you creating some good positive vibes in the environment? And this could be in various fields. It's just not the environment we're talking about, environment per se. It could be whatever. It could be livelihood generation. It could be, offering jobs to people. It could be creating wealth for people. It could be empowering women. It could be, giving an opportunity for, say, rural folks to earn money. So it could be anything, right? So depending on that, you should be able to actually spell out the impact that your business is going to create, the positive impact that your business is going to create over time. Okay. So these are the basic slides that you will need to create. Okay. So I'll just, for everybody's sake, I'll just go through them once again so that, you can, I'll just, yeah. So these are the slides that you would want to put up. So the introduction slide, the problem or the market needs slide, the product or solution slide, or where the services is there, then that is going to be highlighted. Then the next slide is the customer slide. Who's your customer? The marketing strategy, as in how you're going to reach the customer, how you're going to make the sales and all. The competition and the substitutes, that's another very important slide. And the revenue model slide. So this talks about the business part. Then you talk about the team part. And then you finally talk about the impact that your business is going to create. Now, you could have some of the slides being interchanged if you feel like. That's upon you. We will leave that to you. But this is basically what you will need to cover. Okay. Now, we're talking about, we've spoken about how you're going to, what are you going to present, not how you're going to present, but what are you going to present. Going forward now, we will talk about how are you going to present. Okay, so let us look at if we can take a time check here and understand. So Shvayu, we've got 7 minutes to present or 6 minutes to present?
Gaurav, that's 7 minutes to present and 6 minutes of Q&A.
Right. So if you're talking about 7 minutes, if you are a little careful and if you are a little conscientious about the time, you can beautifully present this entire, 9-slide deck in roughly less than 7 minutes. Okay, let me show you how. So the introduction slide should not take more than 30 seconds. Okay, 30 seconds is good enough for you to, introduce yourself, a line or two on your business, and a hard-hitting line, which will become something that people will remember, and leaving them with, something more to expect. So 30 seconds is good enough for that. Defining the problem, defining also the market need in 45 seconds is good enough. You can, we've seen that how we've been able to do it in a few sentences. So I don't think 45 seconds is a short period of time. You can actually define the problem and the market need in 45 seconds. And I think you should not go beyond that, because I think this is a good timing, because otherwise you will be harping more on the problem and less on the solution. We want you to harp more on the solution, because that is exactly how you will be solving the problem. So let's look at the solution part. So your product and service, you can take 1 minute for that and explain in detail what is your product all about, what is the solution that you're offering, what are the features, and all that within 60 seconds, which is good enough, I think. It's a long period of time. Then there's the customer slide, where you define the customer, who's the customer, where is the customer, a little more on the customer in terms of geography, location, and defining the customer, and all that within 30 seconds is good enough. So if your pitch is well prepared, 30 seconds is good for that. Then you come on to your marketing strategy, where you take 1 minute to explain how this business will work. Okay, that is 60 seconds is good enough time for you to explain. You take 45 seconds to explain about the competition and the USP of your product. So instead of doing, explaining about the competitor, or telling people about the competition first and then the USP, I would suggest that you club them both together. And that would be very, very easily achievable in 45 seconds, where you actually, by way of your USPs, you say that this is what I do better than my competitors. Then comes the revenue model slide, which is where you explain how are you going to make the money, okay, and what is the pricing like, and who you're going to sell to, and all that within 45 seconds, and which is, I think, a good time. And finally, on the social impact or the impact slide, where you 45 seconds you mentioned. I've put the word optional there because in some business plans it may not appear, but I think we should all try to put up that social impact slide, which is very important because it creates an impact on the minds of the judges. So this is how, if you look at all these 9 slides that I've got here, 3, 6, 3, 9, yeah. And of course, the team 45 seconds. So if you put all this together, all this will total up to 6 minutes and 45 seconds only, which is less than 7 minutes. And I'm keeping those extra 15 seconds in hand just in case you spill over in 1 or 2 of the slides, which does happen. Okay, or there is something that you pause on, or you give a gap somewhere, or there is some kind of a glitch somewhere. Sometimes your laptop plays up, or maybe a slide doesn't move forward, or so for that, let's keep 15 seconds in hand. So you got about 7 minutes to finish this. Now you're going to tell me that you said 9 slides and you say that you can do it in 7 minutes. I mean, is it really possible? Well, you need to get that recipe right. And to do that, you need to keep certain aspects in mind very clearly. And I will tell you about the softer aspects about it, because that is very important. Okay. So first of all, let's talk about the presentation in itself. Okay. Because your presentation will save a lot of time for you. Now I'm talking about the presentation, I'm talking about the physical part of the presentation, as in the PPT that you're going to make. Okay. That saves you a lot of time if you are very, very sharp. There are certain things that you can show on the screen without talking about them. So your screen can show something and you can be talking about something. Okay. And that information from the screen can also add on to the information that you're going to give out, still saving you a lot of time. So let's look at what is there for you. So one is start with a bang. That's the first thing that you do. First impressions matter. So your first slide has to be, it has to be a curtain raiser. It has to be something which is going to be really, really exotic, in the sense it has to come out very, very strongly and promote you as a founder of, or a leader of a business which is going to create impact. Okay. Secondly, keep your pitch deck clean. I mean, it should be visually appealing, of course, but then keep it clean. Don't have too much of clutter on your screen. If you have too much of clutter on your screen, it distracts the jury members from reading. This is very important. So just keep your your screens as clean as possible. A picture is worth 1,000 words. You've all heard of that. So there's a lot of good use you can do with pictures. Just don't have pictures for the sake of having pictures. Put in the right pictures which will actually spell out what you really want to communicate. Okay. Use them to your advantage. This is what I'm trying to say. If you're talking about 9 slides, you have an opportunity to use 9 pictures. Now, one in each of the different phases of your business. Now you see how you want to utilize a picture as a tool to convey a message. Avoid using very loud and garish colors. Keep the tone low, because it oftentimes distracts the jury members. They can often get distracted into another zone on thinking, oh, how garish is this color, and they'll miss out on what you're talking about. So also remember one thing which is very important. You have got 2 very, very important tools. One is the PPT that you're using, and the other part is your voice, or what you're going to communicate verbally. It's the synchronity of these 2 things which is actually the, I would say, the perfect recipe for a very, very good winning pitch. Okay. So how will you use both these to your advantage? This is exactly what you need to figure out for yourself. And it's a very, very, I would say, balanced approach towards things. So you need to be very, very sharp on this. Okay. Next, just remember, bullets are your ammunition. So don't go beyond this, in the sense, use words and phrases. Don't write paragraphs. Long paragraphs are total no-no. Never have your presentation. If you look at my presentation, you will notice there are only a few words, or in bullet points is all I use. The rest is all verbal. Okay. It doesn't mean that I have to read off. You should never read off what is on the screen. But you should be able to, communicate fairly well around what is written on screen. But don't have long paragraphs. It's a complete no-no. Because if you have long paragraphs, the jury gets put off. The other thing is, if the jury does make an effort to read, then the jury will get distracted into reading what is written there rather than listening to what you're saying. Okay. So also remember that your presentation or the PPT that you're using is a tool. The bigger part is what you're speaking. Okay. The PPT is only a tool to aid what you're speaking. That is very important. Okay. Use font sizes which are appealing to the eye. Okay. Don't use very large fonts because they're very jarring and they can be absolutely, distracting. And very small fonts are illegible. So I'll be screening, or the jury members will be, screen their eyes just to read what is written on the screen. So don't have very large fonts or very small fonts. Next. Sell the problem first. You need to convince your audience that this is a problem that is worth solving. It is not that you are trying to just, make a business out of anything. It is a problem that you're solving. So sell that first. I mean, that is the most important part. And that's why it is the second slide that we talk about from the introduction. Just after the introduction is the problem slide. And that is where you should be actually, also working towards making sure that you sell the problem well first. Okay. However, remember that don't spend too much of your time on the problem. If you've allocated 30 seconds for your problem, then stick to that 30 seconds. Okay. Because remember that if you get lost in your problem, then the solution won't come out clearly. The solution is more important than the problem. This is also an opportunity for you to, talk about something which is very, very striking about the startup. It's something which is most exciting about the startup. It could be your vision about the business. It could be about the team. It could be some innovation you're using, some technology you're using, something new that you've discovered. It could be solution itself. It could be a process. It could be anything. But it does bring about, the excitement in the viewer. So try and bring that out. Another important tool that I often use is SMART, which stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So if you can attach SMART or use SMART in a way where you were talking about whether it be the entire trajectory of your business or the revenue model, or you're talking about the business model, whatever, use SMART as a very, very important tool. I mean, you can explore using this: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Okay. So different activities can be called as SMART activities because they are specific in nature. You're actually specifying what are they all about. They're measurable in terms of time or money or value. They're achievable, which can be made out by the proposition itself. And they are relevant because they are for today. And of course, they are time bound. They will be done in a certain period of time. Okay. Okay. If you feel that there is something more that you want to share than these 9 slides, I would suggest do not include them in the immediate part of the presentation. Hold those slides in a section called annexures, and you can pull them up during the Q&A session. Okay, so you'll get 6 minutes for Q&A. That is the time when you can actually play those slides if you want people to see. So what will happen is while they are asking questions, you might just put up some slides, 1 or 2 of them, say at intervals of 1 or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, for people to know that, yes, there is more to it that you had to show, but you did not because you did not have enough of time. That doesn't go against you. It only adds to the flavor because you're giving them relevant slides to look at. Also, you can inform the jury members if suppose you are touching upon something in one of your slides and you want to show a more detailed part later on. For example, you've done your costings and you've done your costings to say a very great extent in detail. You can say that I've done the costings, but I'll be able to pull up that slide if you ever you want it. While in the Q&A session, please let me know. I will pull up that slide. And then while you are in the Q&A session, they're talking about pricing or something, then immediately pull out that slide. You pull out that slide and you show it, put it up on screen. So what happens is you are actually gaining more out of that one presentation by not eating up on your time in the prime sector, but you're keeping them as reserve slides, okay? Use graphs, smart art, you could use infographics, you could use a GIF somewhere if you want to, if you feel that they will help you to explain things better, or if you feel that they're going to create a better aesthetic impact, or if you feel that some numbers can be explained better in that way. Okay, so you could use a bar chart, a pie chart, a bar graph, whatever. I mean, if you feel that that is going to help you to explain things better, please do go ahead and use them. They also make your presentation a little more attractive and appealing to the eye. Like I said before, try not exceeding 9 slides, lest you run out of time. If you have more slides, keep them for a later session, which comes in the Q&A part. Always remember, less is more. And I think this is something which I've always believed in. The lesser you show on screen, it turns out to be more because you get an opportunity to speak also. That's one more thing. The other part is that I would request all you to do is now, if you know your timing, you know that, okay, I'm going to spend 30 seconds on a particular slide. One good way of preparing for your presentation is do it piece by piece first. So first prepare your slides, okay? So take one slide at a time. See what you want to, so how do I go about preparing my slides? Let me tell you, this will help you maybe get a better idea. You could follow the same, or you may have a different way of doing it yourself. So what I do is I first populate my slides. I put up, say, 9, I'm going to put up 9 slides. I name the 9 slides roughly first, just put names to them. And I just start populating whatever data comes to my mind. I keep putting them in their respective slides. Now I have 9 different slides, which has got a whole lot of data. And then now I'll take one slide and I'll rummage through that data and just pick up the major pieces that I feel. Since all the data is in front of me, it is easier for me to understand and decipher and discern which is the data that I want on my screen. So I will just pick out and just put it on one side, and the rest of the data I will delete. Now I've got, say, suppose 4 things that I want to show on one particular slide. Now I will adjust them, arrange them the way I want to. And I'll create a story in my head around these 4 pieces of data, okay? This is how I'm going to present that story. So I'll just have that one little rough story in my mind, okay? Likewise, I will go to the next and the next and the next, and I'll finish all my slides. Now I'll come back to the first slide and I'll say, okay, this is what I do, okay, generally. And then I'll put in the photographs or a bar chart, or I'll use some kind of a infographic, or I will use some smart art, and I will create that entire slide. Okay. Now, once that slide is created, I'll go to the next one and the next one and the next one, and I'll complete all my slides this way. There's also another thing that I follow is I generally have a theme to my presentation. So you could also do that, maybe have a particular theme. So if suppose like a day before yesterday, I used the theme of minions. Likewise, you could use a particular theme which you feel that will relate well to your business. And those little aspects, or it could be graphics, it could be a photograph, or whatever that you want to use, you could use across the different slides just to give that flavor of that one theme. You could also, some people also use a particular photograph or a particular picture and run it through every other slide. You could do that too. Some people use color, some use black and white just to bring out certain things. You could use bars, you could use circles, you could use triangles or trapeziums or any kind of a shape that would could become an element of your slide. At the same time, it could also be something you use to highlight a certain part. If you look at the slide at this point in time on screen, you will notice that we have the IIM Calcutta Innovation Park logo on all the slides in the top left-hand corner. That is one element. The other thing that you would have noticed is that I have a header as an a header or a title to every slide, which is in a particular color. It's the same color all throughout the slides, right? And I have a little bar at the bottom, if you see. I'm using that to highlight a particular line. This is how I have designed this PPT, okay? And it's the same blue bar that you can see all through the slides, but every bar has got a different message that I want to give out. It is over and above whatever I'm presenting in the lines above, but this would be a highlighter. So you can use your own style and come up with, over time, you can actually come up with your own discerning style, which actually makes you stand apart, okay? Just remember, the more attractive your slide is, the more appealing it becomes, and the more in sync does your audience be with you. Okay, so just remember, these are very, very small tips that I'm giving you. You could use these to actually make your presentation. Okay, now every person has his or her own secret sauce. And I think that is one very important thing to have, because it has a little flavor, it has a little color, it has something which is very distinctive, which is just you. Okay, so let's see what can be your secret sauce. First thing first, arrest the attention of the people on the word go. As in the first moment, the moment you could start with a dramatic line, it could be an introduction about yourself. I can say that I am Gregarious Gaurav. Now that is something, that's one way of saying it. I can say I'm Gaurav Kapoor and I am the XYZ whatever of IIM Calcutta Innovation Park. Or I could say I'm Gregarious Gaurav. And that's, I've used an adjective with the first letter of my name, which describes me. Now that spells a lot. It says that I am a person who's, maybe full of zest, maybe loves life. So you could have your own signature style as well. But arrest the attention of the people in the very first moment, as in the first slide. And that is very important, because that will give you a little edge. And you would have already caught on to the attention of your viewer or the jury member who would be with you for the next 8 slides. Just remember this much. It's a journey with you. The person is traveling with you on a journey of 9 slides. If you haven't been able to strike the conversation in the very first slide, it'll be difficult for you to strike it in the next 8. Remember, it's not about you. It's about what people are interested in. What are they looking for? So speak their language. And that is something very important. Are we speaking in the language of the person who's going to be my viewer? Or am I speaking in my own language? Remember, if you are not convinced, nobody will be convinced. So you need to be convinced about your own story. And if you have high standards, it'll be difficult for you to convince yourself. And if it is going to be difficult for you to convince your own self, that means you're going to come up with something which is really good. I repeat that. You need to be convinced first. If you're convinced about an idea, then only expect that others will be convinced. Okay, so this is a test. I'm saying that my business is going to be selling lemons on the moon. Are you convinced? Am I convinced first? If I'm not convinced, you won't be convinced. So I have to be really convinced about my idea, whether it be the business model, whether it be the product, whether it be the service, whether it be the revenue model, whether it be who my customer is going to be. I need to be convinced about everything. While you are presenting, you need to be calm. And one good way of doing this is, I generally do that. I take 3 breaths, 3 long, deep breaths. and I release the breath very slowly before I start anything. This gives me a sense of calmness, and that's how I get on stage. Okay, one good way of doing that. Okay, be confident about what you're going to present, and you will be confident only if you're convinced. Just remember this much. Know the material in your slides very well. If you don't know what is the content, you'll be reading off the slides, which doesn't make sense. So know your stuff very, very well. Another thing, don't run like the Rajdhani. You're not in a hurry to, get off on a plane. So take your time while you're speaking. You don't want your audience to lose out on what you're saying. Sometimes when we speak fast, what happens is our audience is on the first line while we are on the third line. They're still thinking about what you're saying, what you said rather in the first line. So you need to take your pauses, you need to give gaps wherever required. If I am going to be really fast while I'm speaking, either chances are that you will miss out on some words, chances are you will miss out on some facts. Chances are that if you are listening to the first fact, the second one will just go by. You will drop it because you will not be able to grasp it. So go slow. Also, the tendency will be to learn up and mug up everything that you are going to present, which is going to be not very good because ultimately it's going to sound very, very rehearsed. So I would suggest go at a pace where you are not really sounding rehearsed. You shouldn't be, you should be natural. And please avoid any kind of an accent that you want to put on, not required. I'll tell you something. The best presentation that I've heard is from a gentleman who is from the state of Chhattisgarh. He speaks in Hindi, can't speak English. Or he can speak English, let me put it this way. He can speak English, but he prefers to speak in Hindi. He does not put on any accent. He speaks the natural way like he talks. There is nothing added on. And believe me, it's one of the most convincing pitches I've ever heard in my life. In May this year, this gentleman won 30 lakhs as funding in a competition by just making a 7-minute pitch. And he cut, let me tell you one thing, he cut with the judges in such a way that every jury member who was sitting on that panel voted for him. Every jury member, mind you. It was a unanimous decision for a guy who is such a simpleton, comes from a rural area, and he works with fruit from the jungles which are collected by tribal women. But it is his inimicable style that he talks in, which is very, very natural. And that cuts very well with the judges, let me tell you. Let it sink in. You have certain highlights somewhere. You need to, if there is something dramatic that you're trying to say, or if there is a piece of information or a data set that you're giving, which is really, really big, don't rattle it off in a hurry. Give a pause after you said that. Like if I have to tell you that, this gentleman has, cut it with the jury members and all of them, and it was a unanimous decision. I give a pause specifically after the decision because I wanted it to sink into you because it makes an impact. Are you going to tell me 7 minutes, 9 slides? It's a lot to absorb. Yes, it is. Even for the jury members, it is a lot to absorb. So keep the pace steady. Sometimes you need to do drama, but otherwise keep the pace steady. Avoid jargon, avoid buzzwords, explain things in simple language. It really helps. Sometimes we want to get in a lot of jargon into our conversation because we want to create an impact. But believe me, nothing sells better than simplicity. Also, if you're passionate about something, let it come out. Because that passion actually helps to convince people. Because it's that passion which is going to actually help you to sell your story. So if you're really passionate about something, let it show. Also, if you have a very relevant incident or a story from your life which you feel, an anecdote from your life, or it's an incident that has taken place, which you feel that is going to help drive a point home or tell the audience what really you're feeling, what you felt or gone through, please share that. But make sure that you are brief, because you might, you run the risk of actually eating up too much of time on that. And remember that, when we're talking about 7 slides, we're talking about 9 slides, we're talking about 7 minutes. These 9 slides are going to be bound by your storytelling prowess. So make sure that it comes out. Let the emotions flow. Because emotions sway people. They help people to understand what really one is going through. Thank you so much. I'm open to questions. This was the end of my session. I'll go back and I'll come to the slide. I'll leave it on, which is the timing slide. I think this is one thing that everybody would need at some point in time. So this is on for everybody to read. Shubhayu, how would you like to do the question answers?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you so much. This was wonderful. I think after the last 2 masterclasses, this has been the perfect finale where we've gone into the nitty-gritties of how teams should prepare for the competition. It's been the perfect funnel, right? We started off with the overall entrepreneurial journey, then to devising a business plan, and down to the nitty-gritties of the contest. Thank you. Thank you so much for this absolutely wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Also, your connection has been behaving very nicely. Do you want to venture your video once again?
Sure. I'll switch it on. I hope this helps and I hope it works.
Yeah, it works. It works perfectly. So we have quite a few questions, but I have gone through the questions. First of all, let me tell all the teams here. If you have questions specific to your plan, right? Unfortunately, we will not be taking them because A, it's going to be a little unfair. And B, if I were you, I would not want my competitors present when I'm discussing secrets about my plan, right? So I'm not going to say that, okay, this can be a good business plan, this cannot be a good business plan. If you have gone through the 3 masterclasses, and if you have not, by the way, all of these are up on our YouTube channel for you to go watch as many times as you want. If you have gone through the 3 masterclasses, there cannot be a doubt about what is a business and what is not. And as far as you are convinced about the value that you bring to the table, as far as you are convinced that you can justify it, there's no question of can this be a product or can that be a product, right? There are quite a few questions about how flexible or how rigid are we with the 9 slides. Does it have to be bang on 9 slides? Does it have to be exactly these 9?
No. I wouldn't say that we are very, very hung up on these slides. As long as you're covering most of it, it is good. The idea is to cover the content in these slides. If you feel that you want to, and sometimes people do that, and that is the problem and the solution slide, they make it as one slide. If you want to do that, and if you are good enough in doing it and able to express yourself well and convey the message and the content, I think you're good to go. That we are not hung up on the number of slides, but it is just that. So I'll tell you how it works out. Okay, if you look at it from the jury's point of view, if you're not able to convey enough material, then it'll all spill over into your question answer round. They will want to know. And then they will ask you questions. And once they're asking you questions, and if you missed out something and they're asking you questions on that, then they will not get enough time to ask you questions which they really wanted to otherwise ask you. So you're going to miss out. So I would suggest is keep these slides 9 as 9. If you feel that you want to maybe club one or two together, okay, that could be done fine. If you can handle it, good enough. Otherwise, stick to the 9 and convey all this information, because this is what is going to help them to decide whether yours is a good business model or not.
Thank you. Let me also sit in the seat of the students here and give you a simple piece of advice. If I had to present a business plan, and if I had IIM Calcutta Innovation Park recommending how to do it, I am going to take their advice, right? This is the best expert advice you'll get in this regard. In terms of aesthetics, etc., I guess you are free to choose. It's your product, your plan, you're presenting it.
Yeah.
There's one question about would we want them to present in their mother tongues? Given that the country is India, that could be a very, very wide range. So Gaurav, I'll leave this to you. You know the judges well.
Okay, so let me say one thing. We really don't know who the jury members are and whether they will be able to follow your mother tongue or not. But one thing I can say, if Hindi is a language that you're using, I think most people in the country know Hindi. There will be no issues on that. If you feel that you want a mix in language, as in you want to rattle between Hindi and English, you could do that if you're comfortable with that. Just remember one thing, you need to be comfortable. If you feel that Hindi and English both will give you a very good mix of expressing yourself, please do go ahead and use that. We're fine with it. I will not stop you at that, because this probably would be the very first time that most of you would be, A, making a presentation, and B, making a pitch. So I would want you to be as comfortable as possible. However, if you tell me that you're going to speak in a language which nobody's, is comfortable with or doesn't know, then it might be a challenge for you only. For example, if you say, there's nothing in particular about any of these languages, but it could be Odia or it could be Telugu or Tamil. We probably may not have anybody on the, I'm not saying that we won't, but we may not have, I'm not sure. So I really don't know which are the people who are going to be, jury members and who's going to be in your slot, that we cannot say, right? So even if we do have somebody who understands Telugu, it will be probably one person in the jury members who would be able to understand and may not be a part of your panel. So you will run the risk. So I would suggest stick to English. Max to max, you can add on Hindi. That's fine, but not beyond that.
Great. There are quite a few questions about the definitions of competition, marketing, etc. My request, go on to our YouTube channel, look at yesterday's masterclass. Each one of these were dealt with in great detail. If you still have questions, right? All of you would have received an email from shubhayu@notebook.school for today's webinar. Write into us. We are more than happy to take up your queries and doubts later on as well. One question, Gaurav, there's somebody who's putting us on the spot. It says, if someone really wishes to launch the business after this rigorous preparation, how will Notebook or IIM Kolkata Innovation Park help? Say top 10 plans or something.
Okay. If it's a good plan, I promise you, I will give you a chance at least to be heard. And we have different programs going on. One of them is an entrepreneur in residence program, which is a program which helps you to develop your business from scratch, in the sense you may have probably a good idea. And maybe if you can build on your prototype, then you can come to us and we can probably help you to handhold you and take you forward to launch the business. I would be happy to do that. It would be a real pleasure. Believe me, if at all we get somebody from here who's actually wanting to go out and take it up seriously, I don't know what can be done or not, but I can definitely guarantee you one thing, that is personally, I would be happy to at least advise and whatever I can do in my mind, and to make sure that at least you get justice to whatever you're doing, will probably help you to reach wherever you need to. We'll try our level best.
Well, Gaurav, thank you so much. This has been the most amazing session. And on that very optimistic note, I am looking forward to the competitive rounds. Given the quality of questions we've received, given the kind of response we've got, I am looking forward to a very, very closely fought set of qualifiers. One good thing to remember, if you're getting scared about that line saying 9 slides in 7 minutes, remember it's 9 slides for everyone. It's 7 minutes for everyone, right? So it's a level playing field.
Yeah.
May the best team win.
Yeah. I just like to say something before I leave. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think this is a very favorite four-liner that I had written a long time back, long ago. This was when I was in school, or not in school, just in college. I was just entered into college. And I used to do a little bit of poetry then. And I think these lines will be very, very apt for everybody who was here today. I'd like to share that with you. Never regret a ride on a star. Never regret a ride on a star, a hope, a dream aimed too far. Never regret a ride on a star, a hope, a dream aimed too far. For even if you've built castles in the air and they've crumbled and fell, but the memory is still there. If you at all are doing something, do it at least because you're going to have a memory with you for the rest of your life. Never gone there, never done that, never been there. You will never know what is winning or losing. No, not everyone will win, but not everyone will lose. You will take back home something which is much greater, much, much greater, believe me, which is a memory of a lifetime, an experience of a lifetime, which will help you later on in life. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, entrepreneur, mentor, and now poet, Mr. Gaurav Kapoor, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and your wonderful, wonderful experience with our young audience. Before we leave, I'll have a couple of housekeeping points to wrap up with. We at Notebook are an EdTech organization. We make short videos pertaining to your school curriculum. So if you're looking for a product that helps you to revise your school studies or quickly go over your lessons just before a test, I suggest you have a look at Notebook. Here's a little bit about Notebook for you.
Hi there. Are you facing problems with your child's studies? Managing online classes when you have to work from home? Notebook is here to help. Notebook is India's fastest growing online learning platform. Over 2 million students learn using Notebook. Let's see why. Every chapter of every subject is made into short videos that your child can watch on any smartphone or laptop. These videos are made by India's best teachers and just as per the syllabus. This means that these videos are the quickest way to be ready for exams. Every chapter starts with a short interest builder that makes your child want to learn. Studies will never be something that your child gets bored of. Not just videos, there are study notes also. These offer explanation that you won't find in the textbooks. There are also thousands of solved questions, making exams easier to answer. Notebook is India's only learning platform that teaches every subject: maths, science, English, along with history, geography, economics, Hindi, EVS, and many more. Every topic is made into short, interesting videos that makes learning fun and easy. More than 10,000 videos just to help your child learn better. Notebook has been awarded as the best educational app and best educational website. This happened just because we understand what your child needs. So what are you waiting for? Download the Notebook app or visit www.notebook.school and ensure that your child gets the best. Happy learning!
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a privilege hosting you today. I look forward to seeing your presentations, your entries into the Notebook Ignite competition. In case your school has not signed up yet and you want to participate, do write in. Just drop a reply to the mail that you would have received earlier today. If you have questions, do send them in and we will try to answer them to the best of our abilities. Once again, we look forward to a fantastic, fantastic Ignite. Thank you, take care, and goodbye.